Imagine the sea. I know, weird, but stay with me. Imagine the sea. Maybe you imagined something like this. Now, imagine an angry, churning, blue-black sea. This time, you might have imagined something like this. Finally, imagine a crystalline sea that seems to be made of glass. Maybe something like this? You may not know it, but I just performed one of the greatest magic tricks in the world. I used specific word choices to create 3 unique scenes in your mind. Now, the bad news is that we are not at the sea. We are still in this spire of inspirational spiral, or whatever this place is called, and we're in this very gray room. The good news is that today we get to learn more about creating magic through our word choices. To get out of this room, we'll need to complete this challenge. Can you use intentional word choice in a scene from your novel? Maybe this room is supposed to represent the blank page? A space for our imagination to run wild? I honestly have no idea. I just want to get out of it. To complete this challenge, we'll need to learn about the impact of intentional word choice on characterization and setting, and discover strategies for using words intentionally. Afterward, we'll apply those strategies to write a novel scene that describes a setting or character. Ready? Let's get into it. When we write, we do something incredible. We make places, people, feelings, and events that previously existed only in our imaginations come to life for our readers using just our words. But to pull this off successfully, we can't just use any words, we need to use the right words. To learn more about word choice, I'm going to show you 2 passages. Both of these passages depict the same scene from Kenneth Grahame's The Wind in the Willows, in which the character Mole sees a river for the first time. However, the second excerpt has some key words and phrases changed. Sorry, Mr. Graham. Read both passages in your guided notes. Then compare the choice of words in each passage and answer the questions. What changes did you notice in what you imagined when reading each passage? Which passage communicates a more vivid setting description? Why? Pause to work. When comparing the 2 passages, I noticed that during my reading of the unedited passage, with its word choices like sinuous, chuckling, and bewitched, I imagined more vivid, specific images than when I read the edited passage. I also noticed that the word choice changes impacted the mood of the text. To me, the first text felt playful, particularly when describing how the river was chasing and chuckling, while the edited version had a less distinct mood. This is why intentional word choice is so important when writing. It impacts how readers perceive characters and settings by conveying specific traits, emotions, and atmospheres. Strong word choices bring characters and settings to life by creating vivid and precise descriptions. So let's explore some strategies that can help us make intentional word choices in our own writing. When we write, how do we decide what the right words are? Well, understanding denotation and connotation can help. Denotation refers to the literal meaning of a word. For example, the word home refers literally to the place where someone lives. That's its denotation. Connotation, on the other hand, refers to the emotional undertone of a word, how people feel or what they imagine when they hear it. Home has a positive connotation because people associate it with comfort and belonging. Sometimes 2 different words have the same denotation, but a different connotation. Don't believe me? Consider the terms childlike and childish. Both words denote the same thing, that someone has traits similar to a child. However, their connotations are different. Childlike has a positive connotation. When we say someone is childlike, we're implying that they have positive characteristics associated with children, like innocence or wonder. Childish, on the other hand, has a negative connotation. It implies that the person being described is immature or foolish. While the words technically mean the same thing, the thoughts and feelings they create for readers are very different. When we're writing, choosing words intentionally means considering both the denotation and connotation of a word. So, how can you choose words that have the correct connotation? Here are some strategies that can help. Our first strategy is to visualize the word. To do this, start by imagining how your setting or character looks, sounds, or feels. For example, maybe you're describing old ruins, and you want the reader to imagine that the buildings are falling apart. Next, brainstorm the words you might use to create that image in your reader's mind. For our ruin, we might consider using ancient or dilapidated. But with each word, consider, what does this word make me imagine or feel? Does this line up with what I want the reader to imagine or feel? Then choose the word that best fits your goal. For me, when I imagine something being ancient, I see it as old, but not necessarily falling apart. When I visualize the word dilapidated, on the other hand, I imagine something that is both old and in bad shape. That connotation fits better with my goal, so dilapidated is the better word choice here. Our next strategy is to choose words that emphasize key traits. This means that we use words with connotations that evoke a feeling or image similar to the traits of the character or setting that we want to emphasize. For example, if you're describing a character who is severe or authoritarian, you can use words that feel more severe or harsh to emphasize that character trait. You may describe them as hawk-like, piercing, or exacting. All words that make the reader not only understand that they're severe, but actually feel it. Our final strategy is to consider intensity. When considering possible words, try to pick the one that most closely aligns with the level of intensity that you're describing. For instance, going back to our ruin setting, if you want to convey that the setting is in even worse shape than dilapidated communicates, you could choose a word with greater intensity, like derelict or ruinous. And for our severe character, if we want to decrease the intensity of our word choice to imply that they're strict but not quite as harsh as severe suggests, we might use a word like firm instead of exacting. Try these strategies out for yourself. In your guided notes, you'll find a practice activity. In it, you'll use intentional word choice to describe a setting or character of your choice in two distinct ways. Word choice is an art, not a science, so feel free to experiment and play around with your descriptions. Pause to work. Throughout the rest of the lesson, try to experiment with all of the strategies we've learned about. You may find one that works really well for you, or you might find that you like switching between them depending on the situation. As for me, I think it's time to get us out of here, and I think I have an idea for my novel scene. All right, weird gray escape room. Get ready to be blown away by my intentional word choice. Julius stepped into the ashen room and immediately felt as if walls were crushing down on him. The concrete floor, cracked and uneven, echoed under his cautious steps. His sharp eyes scanned the corners, but saw only grim shadows taunting him. Julius inhaled, the air tasting like dust and neglect, and felt the emptiness gnaw at him, a void too heavy to ignore. Sounds like we've escaped another room. And this gray cell even helped me write a scene from my novel. Maybe there is something to this spiral-bound inspiration spire of spiraling thing. Throughout the rest of this lesson, you'll continue to practice using intentional word choice in your post-video activity. Then you'll use your new skills to plan and write a scene from your novel. Once you're ready, meet me in the next room. Until then, keep writing. Your story is worth telling. See you next time.